265 million Americans have a major problem currently in the United States. And this involves a $430 monthly payment. Now, what is that $430 payment? No, I'm not talking about a stimulus check coming from the federal government. I'm not talking about a raise to Social Security. And no, the $430 per month is not the new amount for your SNAP benefits. Americans are actually paying an average of $430 a month, and they can't even remember why. And this is the reason why. The biggest problem that we are having is that this $430 monthly payment is going towards credit card debt. Yes, it is credit card debt. Now, in 2022, credit card debt reached a record high amongst U.S. consumers. Credit card balances reached a record-setting $930 billion last year, which was a 19% increase over 2021. That is scary. And the idea that this debt can be easily paid off, for most Americans, it's simply a fairy tale. The average American has 3 cards. Yeah. 83% of the United States owns at least one credit card. And let me ask you this. Do you have a credit card? And if you do, what is the interest payment on that? What is the interest amount? Is it 15%? Or for most people, is it over 20%? Let me know down in the comment section below if you don't mind sharing. For me personally, my highest credit card interest rate is 18.5%. And that is a card I hardly ever use. Now, one thing I can tell you is that more and more people are starting to go get credit cards. Not because they see the value in them, not because they want to go and get the air miles or get the cash back. That's not the reason why, or there's perks to them. The reason why most Americans are going out and getting another credit card or just a first credit card is simple. They're not trying to build credit to go and buy a house. No, they're trying to survive. And that is the only way they know how, is to go get a credit card, rack up the debt on a credit card so that they can pay for food, they can pay for their utilities, and they can pay for daily essentials just to get them through. Now, according to a statement by TransUnion Senior Vice President, he said, and I quote, "We expect credit card delinquencies to increase in 2023 as consumers face liquidity shortages from the prolonged high inflation environment, slowing wage growth, and an increase in unemployment." Think about this for a second. We are going out and getting credit cards. We're going out and charging to the cards. Now we have a debt that we need to pay off at the tune of about $430 a month on average. But guess what? If we see prolonged high inflation, which I expect we will, that means the average household will have less money to put towards a credit card. We also have slowing wage growth, which means we're not getting an increase in wages to pay off that increased debt. And then there's a very high chance we see an increase to unemployment. And as people go on unemployment, guess what? They don't make as much money, or they might not make any money. And that would be devastating. Now, one of the reasons for this expectation as to why we're going to see more delinquencies in 2023, and it wasn't specifically said by this TransUnion vice president, but it's the fact that we are going to see interest rates increase. Remember how I just asked, what is your interest rate? Well, the Federal Reserve is likely to continue raising rates by at least 25 basis points for another couple of months. That's what Wall Street expects. Now, as they increase rates, your credit card rates will increase as well. And according to Bankrate, they predict that the average interest rate for 2023 is going to be, or actually is currently 20.5%. Now, some retail brand credit cards have already surpassed 30%, but they also see credit card rates hitting a 4-decade high sometime this year. A 4-decade high. We haven't seen this in over 40 years. That's crazy. Now, when rates go up, so does your payment. But this does not mean your payoff amount gets any smaller. And that's what's scary is your payment goes up, but you're actually not paying off the original debt. You're actually paying off more interest. Now, think about this, okay? Because what we know is that Gen Xers have the most credit card debt amongst anybody, okay, on average. For instance, over $7,000 in credit card debt from Gen Xers. We have baby boomers, they're about $6,700. Millennials is $5,900. We got Gen Zers, they are currently at about $2,800. Now, this won't be good if we all start getting more credit cards, because then that would mean it's easier to tack on additional credit card debt. Now, for the average credit card user, credit cards aren't meant to be used and then, well, for the average user, credit cards aren't being used in the way that they were hoping. Most say they're going to spend a little bit of money on it, they're going to pay it off at the end of the month, no big deal, they're not going to go into debt. Well, that's great, that's what most people say, but that's not what they do. For most, a credit card is used almost as a lifeline. They use it until they can get their next paycheck, and then they try to pay it off, or they pay a decent chunk of it, but there's still a little bit of debt there, right? Or people use it as a lifeline until they get their tax refund check, till that comes in. Okay, that makes sense, but then you get your check and you don't put it towards your credit card bill. That's a mistake. And then you got some that, and I got a comment just the other day that she was only using her credit card, which had like a 23% interest rate. She was only using her credit card because she hopes money is coming in soon. That's crazy to me. That all you're doing is you're just hoping and praying and wishing that something good happens and you get a little bit of money in the future. That's not a plan. That's a plan to fail. That's not a plan. But again, credit card debt is crippling most Americans. Now, according to a study, Gen Xers, so that's between those that are 42 to 58, I believe, they're likely to be the ones that are hurting the most financially. Now, in this study, they say this is because Gen Xers, those between 42 and I believe 58, those people are normally caring for elderly parents, plus they're caring for their own children. So they're caring for two different generations. They got their own costs. They most likely have a house. They have all these bills. And so they have to pay for all that. Now, along with everyday life. Now, caring for two different generations at the same time could be devastating for anybody's budget. Now, here's some advice. According to experts, they say the best thing to do, again, the average person has 3 credit cards. They say the best thing that you can do is do something called the debt snowball method. Okay? Now, what is this? Well, here's how it starts. This is something that Dave Ramsey, he really put this out there. But what you do is you take all your credit cards. Let's say you have a balance of $500. You have a balance of $1,000 and $1,500. What you do is you pay the minimum amount on the one with $1,500 on it. You pay the minimum amount with the one that has $1,000 on it, and then you pay the most possible. Maybe you pay $80 a month, right? Maybe you pay $200 a month, whatever it is, $100 a month on that one with $500 on it. You pay say $100. Great. Let's say that one's $100. The other one, the one for $1,000 is let's say you pay $80 a month, and the one for $1,500 you pay, let's say, I don't know, $100. I'm just making up these numbers. Okay, it doesn't matter what the interest rate is. You then take the $100 that you paid on the smallest one. You just pay it off. Okay, every single month, $100, $100, $100, whatever. The other two minimum. Now, once the first one's paid off, you take the $100 payment that you were making. You then roll it over to the second card. So now you're doing $100 plus the $80. Now, every single month, you're paying $180 on that card that only had $1,000 on it. And then you just do that, keep paying it off until that one is fully paid off without using the other one. Then you take the $180 and you couple it with the other payment, which I said was $100 for that $1,500 card. Okay, so now you take $180 plus $100, you pay $280. That's the snowball effect. Okay, and as you keep going, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you can pay off cards much quicker. It's a very simple process and simple plan. That is what experts are recommending. All right. So right now that there's 265 million Americans that have this problem, where they are paying an average of $430 a month, you need to do what you can to reduce this debt, get rid of credit card payments, and just start saving for an emergency. Okay, because one is potentially coming. So that's what we know. Again, thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.